The plane had just taken off when the first kick came. It was subtle at first, a gentle tap against the back of the seat, something you might brush off as an accident. But then it came again, harder this time, shaking the headrest, rattling the man seated in front. His name was Marcus, a tall black man in his mid-40s, with tired eyes that spoke of both struggle and strength. He had chosen an aisle seat for comfort, hoping to get some rest before one of the biggest meetings of his life. What he didn't expect was the storm brewing quietly behind him, a storm wearing a bright pearl necklace, red lipstick, and a glare full of disdain. By the third kick, Marcus turned slightly, his calm eyes locking with hers. She was a white woman, middle-aged, clutching her handbag tightly against her chest as if proximity to him was a danger. She sneered and mouthed something he couldn't quite catch, but he understood enough. She didn't see him as a man deserving of respect. She saw only the color of his skin, and in her eyes, that was reason enough to try to push him down, even if it was just with the back of her shoes. Viewers, before we dive deeper into this unforgettable journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of seeing people for who they truly are, not the color of their skin, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more stories that touch the heart and awaken the soul. Marcus sat still, holding himself together. He had been here before, in different forms, all his life. Subtle racism, open insults, the weight of prejudice pressing on his shoulders in classrooms and offices, even in grocery store lines. Each time he learned to steady his breathing, to carry the pain with quiet dignity, because reacting often brought more trouble than relief. Yet, something inside him whispered that today would not be ordinary. He was not just a passenger on this flight. He was a man on the brink of a turning point, though no one around him knew it yet. As the minutes ticked by, the kicks became deliberate. She muttered under her breath loud enough for those nearby to hear. Comments about people like him, taking up space, invading places that weren't meant for them. Some passengers shifted uncomfortably but said nothing, afraid of confrontation. Marcus remained silent too, not because he was weak, but because he knew silence often screamed louder than words. Still, every strike against his seat chipped at something fragile inside him, the memory of his mother telling him as a boy, "You'll have to be twice as good just to be seen as equal. Never let them break you." He closed his eyes, remembering those words. His mother had scrubbed floors, sacrificed her dreams so that he could chase his. She raised him with strength and love, in a world that sometimes offered neither. And now here he was, dressed in a tailored suit, heading to negotiate a deal that could change the future of his company and create opportunities for dozens of young people who looked like him. If only this woman behind him knew who he really was, not just a black man in seat 14C, but the CEO of a rising tech firm, a man whose life's work was about breaking barriers and building bridges. But to her, he was nothing more than an unwelcome presence. She coughed dramatically, pressed the attendant button, and complained loudly, not about turbulence or discomfort, but about him. "This man's taking up too much space," she snapped, her voice shrill. The attendant's eyes flickered with discomfort, sensing the undertone in her words. Marcus kept his gaze steady, calm but unflinching. He had mastered this art, holding back the storm inside him until the right moment came. The flight dragged on. Every hour felt longer with the constant harassment. She whispered to another passenger about how standards were falling these days, about how first-class shul D never have to deal with people like him spilling over. The irony, of course, was that Marcus could have bought the entire row in first class without blinking. But he chose economy, preferring humility over luxury, because he believed in never forgetting where he came from. It wasn't until the plane began its descent that things shifted. A little turbulence shook the cabin, and suddenly, the same woman who had been so vicious grew pale with fear. Her hand trembled on the armrest, her breath quickened. The plane jolted again, and she gasped audibly, panic written across her face. Marcus felt the instinct rise in him, the instinct his mother had planted deep long ago, to show compassion even when it wasn't given, to rise above hate with grace. He turned, his voice steady and gentle. "It's okay. Just turbulence. We'll be fine." His words were simple, but they carried warmth. For the first time she looked into his eyes not with hatred but with fear. And in that fear something shifted. He didn't need to say more, his calm presence in that moment said enough. She didn't thank him, but her foot stopped moving. The kicks ceased. When the plane landed and passengers filed out, Marcus was among the last. He walked with quiet dignity, briefcase in hand, ready to face the meeting that awaited him. But fate had one more twist to deliver. As he entered the grand conference hall later that afternoon, all polished wood and glass walls, he took his place at the head of the table. Across from him, escorted by nervous colleagues, sat the very same woman. Her pearl necklace gleamed under the lights, but her face drained of color when she realized who he was. Marcus was not just another man on a plane. He was the keynote speaker, the leader of the very partnership her company desperately needed. She had spent hours kicking the seat of the man who now held her professional future in his hands. The room was silent as recognition sank in. Her lips trembled, shame painting her cheeks red. She avoided his eyes, but Marcus didn't look away. He spoke with poise, his voice filling the room. Business is built on respect, on the ability to see value in others and to work together for something greater. Without respect there is no trust, and without trust there is no success. His words weren't directed solely at her, but she felt each one as if it were an arrow. He didn't expose her cruelty, didn't embarrass her publicly, though he could have. Instead, he chose to lead by example, letting grace be his weapon and dignity his shield. The deal went through, not because she deserved mercy, but because Marcus knew the bigger picture was more important. He wasn't just building a company, he was building a future for young people who needed to see that hate can be answered with strength, and prejudice can be overcome by perseverance. The woman left the room that day broken in pride but awakened in conscience. For the first time she saw the mirror of her actions, and the reflection was ugly. And Marcus walked out not as a victim, not as a man beaten down by cruelty, but as a victor. Someone who rose above the ugliness of racism, and showed the world that character outshines color every single time. His mother's words echoed in his heart, steady and true, and never let them break you. He never did. If this story touched your heart, and reminded you of the power of kindness, dignity, and rising above hate, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that move souls and awaken empathy. Your support means the world. And before you go, here's a special request. Drop a comment below sharing one moment in your life where kindness changed everything for you. Your story might inspire someone else today, because in the end, the seat that was kicked was not just a seat on a plane, it was a test of patience, of dignity, and of humanity. And Marcus showed the war. That no matter how hard someone tries to push you down, grace will always lift you higher.